Je vais appeler la réunion à l'ordre. Madame la greffière.
Good evening to all. We may begin.
Hearing assistant devices are available at the entrance of the council chambers. Members of the public have the right to address City Council in the official language of their choice. Meetings are broadcast in both official languages on the city's YouTube channel, accessible via moncton.ca, and will also be aired at 9 p.m. this evening on rogerstv.com. Individuals who have registered with the city clerk's office at least 7 days prior to the meeting agenda deadline will be allocated 5 minutes to deliver their presentations. All other public presenters will be allotted 2 minutes. 1 minute warning will be provided to indicate the time remaining. An important reminder, all presenters, city staff, and council members are expected to conduct themselves respectfully at all times. Disparaging remarks, offensive language, or profane expressions directed towards council staff or members of the public will not be permitted. Any breach of this code of conduct may result in the presenter being asked to leave the council chamber at the discretion of the chair. Toutes les séances publiques du Conseil municipal de Moncton sont traduites simultanément.
All public meetings of Moncton City Council are simultaneously translated, and hearing assistance devices are available at the entrance to council chambers. Members of the public have the right to address City Council in the official language of their choice. Meetings are broadcast in both official languages on the City of Moncton's YouTube channel, accessible via moncton.ca, and will also be aired at 9 p.m. this evening on rogerstv.com. Individuals who have registered with the city clerk's office at least 7 days prior to the meeting agenda deadline will be allocated 5 minutes to deliver their presentation. All other public presenters will be allotted 2 minutes. At 1 minute, a warning will be provided to indicate the time remaining. Important reminder, all presenters, city staff, and council members are expected to conduct themselves respectfully at all times. Disparaging remarks, offensive language, or profane expressions directed to council, staff, or members of the public will not be permitted. Any breach of this code of conduct may result in the presenter being directed to leave the council chambers at the direction of the chair. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Any questions? No? Donc, we'll do a manual vote. Show of hands. Donc, motion carried. Merci, Madame la greffière.
Next would be conflict of interest, des conflits d'intérêt.
Est-ce qu'il y a des conflits d'intérêt?
Any conflicts of interest? I don't see any.
Presentation is exposé du public et de l'administration. Il n'y a pas de
There are no presentations from the public this evening.
Biosolids Management Program. It's an update, and to provide this update is Bruce Tate and Eric Arsenault, if they can come to the podium.
Bonsoir, messieurs. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Ça fait un bout de temps qu'on n'est pas venu ici.
We haven't been here in a while. Well, we are pleased to see you again. Thank you very much for allowing us to present tonight and to give you an update of what we have accomplished in 2025 at Transaqua and what our objectives are for the year to come. Bruce and I will be sharing the task of presenting.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
At Transaqua, our mission is to collect wastewater in a reliable, cost-efficient, and environmentally responsible manner. That has been the mission from day one, 35-ish years ago.
Notre vision à Transaco est d'être un intendant remarquable.
Our vision is to be an outstanding environmental steward supporting regional planning, economic development, and quality of life for communities of Moncton, Dieppe, and Riverview. So let's talk a little bit about a 2025 year in review so far. If we look at finance and administration, we have acquired new workflow and fixed asset modules. This will allow us to rationalize internal processes in order to have a better efficiency and transparency. It will also allow us to better follow our fixed assets, their life cycles. We will be able to act in a more precise fashion and have better reports. We also have a new budgeting software. This software allows us to improve our budgeting forecasts as well as planning for different scenarios. It also simplifies the preparation and approval of budgets and helps us as well with financial oversight and decision making.
Firstly, we had an energy management information system come online early 2025. This allows real-time monitoring of the energy usage and allows for things like demand shaving and things of that nature. Money saver and good information for just exactly that, for managing energy usage. And along with energy usage, of course, comes cost reduction. The effluent water system was commissioned early 2025. What that does is reuse water from within the facility and within the processes to wash down for other non-potable uses. And what it does is reduce significantly the demand for potable water resources coming into the plant. Wastewater heat recovery project is, just as it sounds, is to recover heat from the wastewater and use that heat as energy in other processes within the plant. Construction of that began in 2025 with final commissioning expected early 2026. It's an innovative approach. It's one that's been used in arena refrigeration and some other types of uses, but here we're using the heat from the wastewater, which of course is the waste product, and this will help overall lower our energy consumption and greenhouse gas emissions.
Et finalement, sous le volet communication,
Now for communications, we've accepted the new guidelines with regard to our new brand standards, and this allows us to improve our visual identity. It also makes things more regular and more coherent between different public platforms and supports. We've also approved a communication strategy from 2025 to 2029. It is an update with regard to our strategy. It insists on transparency, community engagement, education, and it also better aligns communications on strategic priorities and objectives for sustainability.
In 2026.
Parlons de nos
Continue to advance our work through three core areas of focus: improving system performance, protecting public health and the environment, and increasing public engagement. That has been a cornerstone of our looking forward. 6 key priorities make up these plans for 2026. The first being to replace the main pumps. This will ensure reliability and efficiency by upgrading the main pumps within the plant. These pumps have been on site for 35 years. They are the original hearts of the system, if you will. Because of the excellent preventative maintenance program, we've been able to keep these key pieces of infrastructure well past their life cycle. But there is a plan to replace all of them in 2026 and move forward from there.
une autre priorité, évidemment, c'est le contrôle des odeurs.
Another priority, obviously, is odor control. We kept investing in technology to manage odors, and this allows us to reduce impacts on the community and also to build confidence in our activities. If we look at examples, we have Morlai that we use in the biosolids. We've also bought closed vehicles, modern closed vehicles, in order to better control the odors. That's on top of the extra lime that we've already added. We also don't move around the piles of compost when the wind is blowing. We also use the gore, um, the core tarps, and we've also changed the composition of the biosolid amendments. We've also developed awareness and dialogue with residents in order to improve our image by helping the public understand who we are and what we do exactly. We have gathered comments, we've improved transparency, we have a bigger presence now in community events. We have kiosks where we share information. We also offer visits of our facilities, and we have direct lines of communications with TransAqua staff in order to answer to if in real time if there are odor issues or any other issues. We've also had public consultation sessions recently to allow the community to share its opinion with TransAqua.
Is an advanced system that captures heat from the treated wastewater, will lower our energy use, and obviously support our climate goals. At present, engineering projections show a potential decrease in energy consumption of 26%.
Ensuite, nous avons la détection.
Moreover, we have the detection of illegal contaminants. We will strengthen surveillance in order to detect and prevent the entry of non-authorized substances in our bioreactors. This will protect our equipment as well as the environment. Every illegal contaminant destroys the biomass in the reactor and costs us about $50,000, and we intend to reduce those costs. Avec le système d'eau usée,
Opportunities, obviously, as I mentioned previously, reducing demand on the municipal water supply and providing operational cost savings. Currently, the water bill for TransAqua's last quarter has been reduced from approximately $190,000 to $70,000. This money is reinvested into operations to push forward, environmental initiatives.
Un bref survol de la répartition des
now
revenus.
let's quickly look at the revenue breakdown. TransAqua is going to set a budget for 2026, which sees total revenue being $16.02 million. There are four sources of revenue. The biggest one is the residential unit rate. For Moncton, it's $5.19 million. We also get funding from institutions, from commercial and from industry as well, those who consume a lot of water. For Moncton, that's $4.1 million. We also get revenue for septic hauler and compost. That's about $181,000 rather, and we also have $1.52 million of revenue of interest income. As you know, we do not borrow any money, so any project that we have, any assets that we need to purchase, all of that is paid with the money that we've accumulated over the years. And I'll now give the floor back to Bruce.
Is key. And since 2016, the rate has remained consistent, and that is the budgeted figure again for 2026. So that's 10 years of the rate being consistent. That in itself is good, but it's due to strong financial management, operational efficiencies, and continuing to do good long-term planning. The team have been able to use emerging technologies without passing the added cost on to the ratepayers, as well as very good maintenance and operating system, and keeping the assets in good shape. Affordability matters, and that is the focus.
Alors, merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. That is the end of our presentation, and we are available to answer any questions you may have.
Council. Donc, Conseiller Butler.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thanks. Take it that you guys are here because you're supposed to be reps from the city. Is that what I take? So I got a few questions. First of all, I think one of you is maybe might have just jumped your vision, our vision. It says to be outstanding environmental stewards, supporting regional planning, economic development, and quality of life for communities of Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe. I would say that there's a certain part of the city of Moncton that they wouldn't agree with, that you're looking after their quality of life with the smell. And that's an ongoing thing. Have you ever met, I remember when you Bruce, and you guys were going to get appointed. Did you ever meet with the group up there in that area? You know, I think Bruce had even lived up there at one time, so he knew there was a smell for sure. So have you ever met with them?
No, we've never had a formal meeting. We did have a public session a few weeks ago at the Coliseum, at the
Yeah.
Legends Lounge, to receive information and feedback from the community regarding the biosolid strategy that we're looking at implementing. It wasn't attended by a lot of people.
So I remember when we spoke on the phone, Eric, you and I, had said that when you get on, that there, that was one of the things that you're going to listen to the complaints.
Yep.
And would meet with them, and there's been a number have gone in, and nobody's met with them yet. We can put out that there's going to be a meeting here or a meeting there, but I think it's important that when you that talk to our office and get the complaints that are coming in. Not so much when we go down to when we're taking it down to the Brown Road, but when is that going to stop, and when's it start coming back? It's usually around the
Yeah, I
5th of
believe
November.
the biosolids will stop at the end of this month. So starting in November until the end of May, the biosolids will be brought to the site in Moncton.
So one of the things that we've talked about at different times in meetings is that we talk about climate change and why we're doing, the federal government puts these guidelines that we have to follow, but they never put any money where their mouth is. They kind of tell us, like, this is the guidelines, you fill it. But one of the things is that we talk about it, but we never look at climate change and the fact that maybe 5-10 years ago, maybe October 1st or November 1st was a good time to start bringing it back. But maybe it's time that we start looking at the climate and saying, hey, listen, maybe it's the end of November, the 1st of December that we start bringing it back. When you start using the Brown Road, the complaints went down. There's no doubt about that. So we can say that when it was coming there full time, that the complaints, the smell was worse. But I'm thinking that why are we not looking at, putting a date on it and saying, well, we can play with that date, and maybe it'll be the end of November if the weather stays good. The other thing, maybe you can answer that one first. Were you thinking about changing the date?
I think we will find, and I can have confirmed by our operational staff, but it's not so much a hard and fast date as capacities. So as capacities are reached and biosolids are turned into compost and are going through their process, it can be a matter of room, physical room as well.
Yeah, well, we know about the physical room. So, when we look at it, so for instance, I was thinking the other day when I seen this come up on our agenda, we building a 30-story apartment building here. 30 stories, and I don't know how many, 272 apartments. That's 272 flushes, 272 more, coming out, ones and twos. And where do we put it? I don't see anything in your vision or going forward. We passed a motion way back when, saying, we would like to see it moved, or at least, because I still think that we're dealing with rules and regulations that are 30, 40 years old. When you think about, they say no more than 300 meters away from a house. When you think about that, that's like a whole bunch of porta potties sitting in your backyard, right? Really. So what I'm kind of asking is that when you're thinking about the future, where does the north end fall into it? I don't see anything in your budget about, even with our recommendation that was unanimous here, build something, you put it inside or move it. You know, you move to the Brown Road, but it's coming back in the wintertime, and there's still smell. Like we have smells, like as soon as they start coming back with the full loads, you know, everybody calls it solid waste. Nobody's been back there when the truck dumps. It's not solid. You know, it's not like the big junk of stuff falls out like a brick, right? So first of all, do you know the percentage of solid waste that's coming out now and going?
We would have to refer that to
Well, somebody would know.
25%? 25%.
So all coming out there is 25% that's going to Five Rivers. So 75%.
Sorry, no, sorry.
Well,
That was capture.
you have to go to the mic. You have to go to the mic. I can't.
Approximately 50% of the material goes to Brown Road.
Okay. So how much goes up to the north end right now?
It would be the other 50%, but I don't have the tonnages.
Well,
from an
that's what I'm
operation.
kind of asking. Somebody must have how much is coming
yeah.
out. At one time it was 50 and then it went up to 75. And I think at the last meeting that I was at when we're up at the old Howard Johnson's, I think there was something that they were looking at like a 90 or 95% trying to collect the solid waste. So I'm just kind of trying to figure out how much is coming out right now and what we're looking forward to with a building with, you know, just steady building here.
Through your worship to Councillor Butler, the amount of solids that we are removing from the wastewater from the influent is up to 98 to 99%. That's why our effluent water system works so well, is the water is so clean. The percentage of dry solids in the biosolids mixture that's going to the Long Drive and Brown Road is 25%. The other 75% is water. And the volume of biosolids going between Five Rivers and Moncton is approximately 50% each way, because we are delivering them 6 months to each facility.
Yes.
And then last year, the volume was around 22,000 tons. And by 2037, with population growth, we are projecting 37,000 tons, at which time both compost facilities will be at full capacity.
So, okay, so as long as I got you at the mic, Kevin, so when I look forward to your new brand, your updates, 2025 to 2029 communication strategy. So when you're looking at years down the road, a few years down the road, so what are we gonna do when we're at capacity and the Brown Road's at capacity? Is there any, where's your plan for that?
Well, that's what the biosolids strategy is about. We are renewing our biosolids management strategy. We just did some public engagement sessions with the 4 communities, and the commission will be provided more information so they can make a decision as to which alternative we will be going with. There's 3 alternatives that are viable right now at this point out of 9 total alternatives. One of them is to continue composting. The other one is lime stabilized biosolids, and the other one is anaerobic digestion. So in 2026, our goal is to start the feasibility studies and preliminary designs for anaerobic digestion and lime stabilized biosolids that will give us cost estimates to build in the future, because in our industry, you really only have a small window of time. By the time you identify a need, you identify the studies, the preliminary design, detailed design, construction, funding, and then turn the keys on. So 10 years is a good window in our industry, so the commission will have to make a decision on what that biosolids management alternative will be in the next 6 months, so we can give staff direction to begin proceeding on the design and whatever that new alternative may be, or if it's composting, what that may look like.
We back a couple of years ago gave you a couple alternatives also, and are they in your plan at all, or?
As of right now, the financial analysis for those 3 options are being conducted right now to determine through our cash flow what the impact to the rate would be. So the commission is expected to have that information at their November 20th meeting to review and And again, it's part of that whole decision-making process.
Fair enough. One of the other things is that we had a meeting with the Minister of Environment, and he's kind of underneath the understanding that we should be working more on to, I don't want to put too many words into his mouth. It was more, what would be the cost to, and we threw it there too, so to be fair, what would be the cost to fix the Brown Road? When you came here to council last time, was you or one of your staff that said that, there's a number of acres down there that could be purchased around that Brown Road site, or that you had more property that could be utilized. But the problem was when we met at the old Howard Johnson's on Mountain Road is that the road was in terrible shape. Have we ever, or has your group ever done a study to how much it would cost to fix that road?
Yes, the report that CBCL provided that was cost shared by the City of Moncton and Transaqua indicates to pave that road is estimated at $12 million. That would allow us to be able to use that road in the winter months. However, there would be capacity issues at the Brown Road facility at a certain point where that site would have to expand. And in that report, it also cites that there could be major public resistance to expanding that site.
So where the Brown Road is, and forgive me because I've never taken the time to drive down there, but how close are the houses, the closest house to residents? Where would they live?
The closest resident, I believe, is 300 to 400 meters away. The provincial stipulation is that a compost facility has to be located 200 meters away from the nearest home.
I thought it was 300, but if you're saying 2.
That, my understanding is 200.
The minister kept saying 3, but, we still fall into the same thing. It's that these are rules that were set up before we were getting this much solid waste that was going through a plant. Now the amount that was coming, and we've got a place that's, we've tried our best in the north end to try to keep the smell down, but it just can't. It's too close to residents. Now people can blame us because we've been blamed for building too close, but I would still think that in this day and age with the amount that's coming, 300 meters or 200 meters is quite a short travel for smell. So I would hope to look forward to seeing the report come back, especially with the costing of our motions that we put forward to see where it's at. I would like to make sure that with the weather being the way it is, I mean, it's 16, 17 degrees out now. Why this would not be going to still going down there instead of bringing it back up to DeLong Drive. I'd also like to see how many reports do you get regards to smell from the Brown Road from the residents?
We receive reports on a monthly basis from the Department of Environment for the odors that are filed with them. We haven't had any odor complaints registered with Transaqua directly, so we rely on that Department of Environment odor control log. And I'd say as an example, which is consistent with most months, last month I believe we had 20 complaints that could be attributed to Transaqua, and 18 complaints are from one person. So when I did an analysis last year, we're looking at over 70% of the complaints are from one person.
Yeah, and I know that one person, and to be fair to him, it is a him, he kind of speaks for the community. I've been to a number of meetings in the neighborhood, and he's kind of the one that talks for them. And I have no problem with him doing that. I think that he kind of gets the raw deal that, he's the only one that smells it. That's not true. Lots of people smell it. But I was asking how many. My question was how many complaints do you get from the Brown Road residents?
To date, we have received no complaints.
Fair. All right, thank you, Richard.
Merci, Monsieur Butler. Conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Maire. Merci, Bruce, Eric.
Thank you very much, Your Worship and Bruce and Eric. I have 2 or maybe 3 questions, and perhaps you can answer later. I don't want to impose too much on you right now. I don't want to put you in the hot seat. but I'd like to have your reaction eventually, if you can't answer tonight. So the municipal council has a motion rather to fix the odor issue. We know there's still odors. You're still working on it. And I was on the Trans Aqua Commission 10, 15 years ago. It was a regional corporation. It worked very well. There was great cooperation between the three municipalities, but we're the big player here, right? We pay 3/4 or 70% of the budget, and we have 2 out of 6 votes. So we are in a minority position when it comes to decision making. That's part A of the question. So the fact that we're in a minority position on this council, whereas we are a majority player when it comes to funding it. And there are several regional commissions like that. You're not alone. Second part of what I would like to say now is this. Do you feel supported? Do you feel like you're in between a rock and a hard place where you need to, in quotes, represent the city of Moncton in order to defend the resolution that we adopted unanimously, if I remember correctly? Do you get support from the other municipalities at council? How does it work? Why has nothing been done as quickly as we would have expected?
On est bel et bien seulement 2 votes sur un conseil de 6.
So it's only 2 votes out of a council of 6 members. When we make decisions and we debate the various items that we are seized with, such as the City Hall motion, well, this took a lot of time. And it's been discussed in depth. We were informed as a commissioners that we're supposed to represent the interests of the city of Moncton, but we also have a fiscal responsibility as a commission. So we need to strike the right balance between those 2 aspects. No decision was made concerning the motion and the 3 options presented. As Mr. Rice said, we are in the process of reviewing the strategy concerning biosolids and their management.
Du traitement qu'on fait avec les eaux usées.
How do we manage the results of the treatment that's applied to wastewater? So if, as a commission, we decide that we want to continue with composting, well, we will need to make a decision regarding the 3 recommendations or options on the table that were put forward by the city of Moncton. But we're also looking at other options that could take us to a different approach, a different way of managing biosolids. Whether we like it or not is something that needs to be managed somehow. So it's up to us to find the most economical and the most environmentally friendly approach to apply, and the cost for the community, obviously. So my message in a nutshell is, well, if you need support, more definite support from City Council for you to convince colleagues of the other municipalities that the situation is unacceptable, because our request is pretty serious. It's not the result of one person complaining. And if it does happen that someone complains, well, maybe this is founded. My second question now. When I sat on the commission about 15 years ago or 14, I can't remember exactly, under René Leblanc's leadership, money had been set aside to invest because we knew that the federal regulations would change and were coming. We invested, I think, back in the day, $80 million so that we could meet the new national standards. Do we still meet national standards today? Yes. Are we expecting the federal government to change standards in the near future? Do we have any idea of that, or we have received no information in this respect, so I can't really tell you if that's going to happen or not at the federal level. But in the current situation, we are meeting all national standards. I'd like to make a short comment. So we provide the 3 municipalities through the commission a service that's essential but almost invisible. It's only when it doesn't work that people realize how important and essential a service it is. Solid waste can be accumulated over several weeks, but liquid waste is more problematic. If you can't flush your toilet for several days, it becomes a big problem. So I'd like to thank you for providing this essential service. Thank you, Councillor Bourgeois. Councillor Steves, you have the floor.
And it's just in regards to Five Rivers. With this being a public council, public session, there may be people watching and whatnot that don't really understand much about the Five Rivers addition. And there wasn't anything in your report. Is there anybody on your team that's just comfortable in giving us a quick summary on how many years that's been being used? And again, the months, just to kind of state why we needed Five Rivers.
Mr. Rice would have that information.
Through your worship to Councillor Steves, back in 2022, the DeLong Drive site was over capacity. The Department of Environment ordered us to remove excess biosolids to another facility. So we tried a private company in Miramichi. It didn't work out just based on the site. We damaged our equipment. The second site, the Department of Environment found a facility for us in Nova Scotia that we could temporarily take the excess biosolids to, and we did that for about 3 or 4 months. And then that site informed us that they couldn't take any more. They were at capacity. So in 2020, late 2022, we were able to purchase the privately owned and operated compost facility in Five Rivers, which the commission approved that purchase. And in 2023, we did site assessments. We did condition assessments on the leachate pond, the asphalt pads. The previous owner had a certain period of time to remove the materials that they had on site, off site. So 2022 was a time where 2023, sorry, was a time where we were able to clear the site, set the site up the way that we would operate it. And then in 2024, a decision was made to haul biosolids between the beginning of June until the end of November. As a trial period, and that seemed to work very well. Back to 2023, we had so many biosolids on the compost on the curing pad that we were in excess. We couldn't actually take any more compost off the pads to put on the curing pad. It was so full. So we moved everything from the curing pad up to Five Rivers in 2023 to make room to get us through the winter months. So in 2023, we decided the model would be between starting in early June until the end of October. That would create enough site on the DeLong Drive facility to get us through the winter, and the same with Five Rivers. So with our compost, the program that we have right now, the public currently takes approximately 50% of the approved compost. So it's a very successful program. We started our Biosolids for Agriculture program in 2024. And the farmers took everything else from both sites. So we anticipate the same this year. So we don't have leftover approved compost sitting on the sites taking up space. So we expect this year that the farmers and the public will take all the available compost that's been approved. So this year, because the model was successful last year, we're running the same model this year. The times are variable. If the weather is good and we're not going to do any damage to the Brown Road because of wet weather, then we'll continue to move compost up there as long as we can.
Okay, so thank you for that explanation. And in the conversation that we had with the Department of Environment, the Five Rivers location in Browns Road was certainly part of the conversation. So we're thankful that that has been expanded and that's happening. But the difference is sometimes we talk about capacity and that it may be at capacity is what I just heard a little bit while ago. And then other times we say that road will get soft in the springtime and whatnot. I just wonder if we could see as a follow-up to this meeting a plan that you guys have with the Browns Road, with the Five Rivers location, for how much longer we have until it is at capacity. And if there can be an evaluation to what Councillor Butler had said earlier about it being a hard stop. Now, you just said it isn't a hard stop. Sometimes we'll take it until we need to. I'd just like to see a plan that says here's when we stop taking it, why we stop taking it, if it's a date, or if it's due to capacity, or if it's due to the damage in the road. And then, and maybe Deputy CAO could follow up on that. That would be just great for us to receive that. And then also, if it's $12 million to pave that road, if we could just see a quote that you received for that, that would be helpful as well. My second question is just in regards to your PowerPoint here. I have had residents ask, and I'm quite curious, the illegal contaminants detection. Is someone just able to explain that in layman's terms so somebody who's listening would be able to understand what are illegal contaminants and how do you stop that from getting in?
We currently have a bylaw in place that the municipalities have that we provide consultation on and assist with adding new contaminants as they arise. But basically, all of those contaminants are listed in the bylaw. So if, use the example of oil or hydrocarbons, happened a couple of years ago. We had a major oil ended up in the system. So at the end of the day, we as a wastewater treatment facility, in the eyes of the law, once it enters our facility, it belongs to us. So what we do when we notice there's something in the system that's not supposed to be, we'll alert the municipalities to try to go out and find the source. But the problem is when we had oil contamination a couple of years ago, it killed all the biomass in the bioreactor. So our bioreactor wasn't functioning properly, and the CBOD levels, the levels of oxygen going out into the river, were severely diminished, which put us in non-conformance, which we had to inform our regulators that we were in non-conformance. And that incident alone cost about $50,000 to resolve on our end. So what we're doing is we're trialing some sensors this year in our primary clarifier. So if it detects high BOD loading or illegal contaminants, it'll close the gate to the bioreactor, so that stuff can't get into the bioreactor. So we're trialing it this year, and we'll trial it again next year, and if it works well, we'll expand that to 3 main pumping stations in the Moncton and Dieppe area, so we can have even earlier detection to be able to alert the municipalities to try to detect the source.
A lot of residents would ask the curious question just about illegal drugs and whatnot that are getting flushed. Is there any way that you are able to detect that sort of thing other than oil?
Yes, we participated in the national COVID detection program. So we were providing samples to Dalhousie University, who was using them to detect levels of COVID. So that was successful. We have been approached and have provided samples for detecting drugs in the wastewater system. I don't know what the results of those are, but we will always provide samples for those kinds of things when requested.
Okay. And finally, I'd just say about the one individual that we reference that makes most of the complaints. I would just say I've been on council for 5 years here now and received complaints. Councillor Butler's been there a lot longer. People are just tired of complaining and going through that form. We had a big push for the form at one point. So just, I hope you guys don't ever think that just because there's one individual that's talking about the smell, that's the only person who smells it. I just want you to know that there are people that smell it and are just so tired they don't bother filling out the form anymore. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Merci, Conseiller Steves. Thank you so much, everyone, for the
Thank you, Councillor Steves.
concerns. Merci.
Madam Deputy Mayor, if I
Oh.
may, I'm going to leave some cards here. Odors, let us know. We've got a phone number and an email there. We would rather be proactive than get an email, a spreadsheet 3 weeks later when we can't investigate and determine, is there something we can do different? How did it happen? Was it, we're upgrading some trailers. This way we can be proactive at least. So I will leave those on the table outside if perhaps the city clerk's office could see that they get in your mailboxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Et une dernière chose pour la communication.
One last thing concerning communications. It was our first presentation tonight. We are intending on coming before you at least twice a year to maintain communication channels open and to receive your feedback. So thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. So the next presentation is the 2025 report of the Cultural Board report.
Of the board. Joanne is here to start us off.
Bonsoir, Joanne.
Good evening, Joanne.
Là, c'est bon. OK, là, je m'entends. C'est bon.
Perfect. I can hear myself. Thank you. I'd like to thank City Council.
Spectrum. I had heard couple of years ago at a conference I attended that culture also because we're talking about infrastructure, we build, but we were talking about culture building infrastructure for the human spirit. So merci donc pour cette opportunité de présenter.
Thank you for the opportunity to give you a presentation on an update of the cultural plan.
I personally work with on a daily basis. It's also a community plan. So this is why throughout the presentation, you will see examples of community-led projects along with the city ones. The presentation by the co-chairs of the Cultural Board will focus on the impact on culture and the cultural sector in Moncton, followed by a few updates on recent projects and priorities. Le patrimoine fait partie du plan culturel, mais plus...
Heritage is part of the cultural plan, but a report by Sophie Cormier was presented to council a few months ago, so we haven't included it in our report.
Therefore, data regarding grants will be shared at that time. Voilà. Donc, nous entamons maintenant la dernière année du plan culturel.
So we are starting the last year of the cultural plan that was adopted in 2016. So that's almost 10 years ago.
From my perspective, at least, I can say that internally, there has been so much progress in integrating culture within projects led by other departments, committees, as well as considerations in the review of policies, just to name a few examples. So just want to add that note. No. Dans mon rôle, j'ai la chance de collaborer avec un
As part of my role, I am fortunate enough to be able to cooperate with the culture champions. So I'd like to thank the members of the Cultural Council, whose names are on the slide, and for their involvement in cultural issues. Their dedication is greatly appreciated.
Creative sectors, organizations, and including the participation of 2 council members. J'aimerais aussi remercier des gens.
I'd also like to thank the people that were part of the Cultural Board over the past few years who are outgoing members. So I'd like to thank Éric Cormier, Louise Imbeau, and Colette Thériault.
Remain all great ambassadors for our city and sector beyond the terms with their committees. J'inviterai maintenant les coprésidentes du Conseil.
I'd like to now invite the co-chairs of the Cultural Board, Jeanne-Mance Cormier, and the CEO of the library at the University of Moncton, Champlain Library, the Law Library, Michel Bastarache, and the Acadian Museum at the University of Moncton.
Of the Arab Culture Club, also a wonderful singer in Arabica music, also a poet, among many other hats that she wears. So they will guide you for the rest of the presentation.
Bonsoir, Jeanne-Mance et Reem.
Good evening.
Donc, dans la catégorie rayonnement, la ville de Moncton est membre municipal de 2 réseaux nationaux.
In terms of outreach, the City of Moncton is a member of 2 national networks and the Creative Network of Canada. So Joanne is on the board of the Creative City Network and has been so since 2020, and she is reaching the end of her 2-year term as chair. This partnership with those organizations managing arts and culture in various municipalities is very visible and brings a lot of visibility for the City of Moncton. It has a seat at various tables to deal with different issues and topics and challenges. So it's one of the key platforms for the municipality.
Non. Okay, c'est bon.
Thank you. So back to the cultural plan that Joanne was just sharing. The cultural plan identified 4 overarching outcomes, and they're very much interrelated and connected, as you can see. It also emphasizes the evidence how these outcomes are really lead into each other and how they contribute to the overall well-being of the community. So these outcomes illustrates the importance of creativity, culture, and quality of place in growing local economy. Generally speaking, enhancing the quality of place through diverse cultural offerings works to attract and retain talented people. It supports their sense of belonging, it improves the integration, and eventually it attracts business, investments, and economic growth. So it's kind of a loop. Everything feeds into everything else. One thing else also to mention is that culture is one of the industries where municipalities actually have a very strong contribution, and it could be one of the sectors that the municipalities own as well. So going over these 4 areas of impact, we went through some of the examples of how the City of Moncton has contributed to the different 4 areas of impact. So starting with culture as an economic driver. And according to Statistics Canada culture indicators, in 2023, the culture sector contributed $151.4 million to the Moncton GDP. Representing 1.63% of the city's GDP. This amount obviously shows the great potential that the sector can have moving forward as we try to invest and look into it. And the areas that are covered in this field include creative industries, cultural entrepreneurship, and cultural tourism, which all fall within this category. Speaking only of the cultural GDP and looking at that value, Moncton plays an important part in the provincial's cultural GDP. So the 151.4 million represent 22% of the cultural GDP in New Brunswick in general. Of course, the cultural domains are vast. They include heritage and libraries, live performance, visual and applied arts, written and published works, audiovisual, interactive media, sound recording, education and training, governance, funding, and professional support. This also includes advertising, design, architecture, newspapers, and broadcasting. So you can imagine how many individuals work in this field and in this sector. In New Brunswick, there's around 10,239 jobs in this field, and Moncton contributes 1,438 of those. Earlier this year, ArtsLink NB commissioned a report titled A Comprehensive Analysis of NB's Art and Culture Workforce, which stated that cultural workers in New Brunswick account for 2.7% of all of the 423,000 workers in the province. And the City of Moncton's estimated 440 artists represent 1% of the local labor force in the city, with a median earning of $34,400, which is 21% lower than the median earnings of other local workers in the city, which speaks to why a lot of artists end up having to find other jobs sometimes to make ends meet, and that's why supporting the sector is going to be very important to really strengthen the contribution of this sector.
Donc, on tourne à Moncton. L'industrie du film
Turning to Moncton. So the film industry is a perfect example of an economic engine. In 2025, more than 10 filming permits were issued for the production of movies, shows, or promotional videos. The city of Moncton is proud to have been able to support all of those productions by providing access to various services and locations such as parks and buildings. City Hall has been a scene in the production of some films, including the show Montrouge. That's the pictures you can see on the slide. And more recently, the Bédaine show that will be broadcast on Radio-Canada. Those two productions resulted in spending of respectively $4 million and $3.5 million within a few months. And those projects hired about 70 artists and technicians who live in Moncton, which contributes to the prosperity of this industry of our province, and that helps maintain local workforce. Access to culture is a powerful tool of promotion and social inclusion. By promoting diversity, an ever-increasing diversity, intercultural dialogue promotes mutual understanding and building bridges between cultures, communities, and peoples. Culture is a key factor of reconciliation with Indigenous communities and groups, and it contributes to achieving one of the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission through the installation of the Each Child Matters flag, for example. Such actions promote our friendship. Also, by celebrating the Acadian culture and the Francophone culture, it also emphasizes the contribution of newcomers to Canada. Our organization received subsidies, 15 organizations that were subsidized by the department were organizations geared towards newcomers to Canada, such as, for example, the Ukrainian Association, the Arab Culture Association, and others.
One of the third impacts we looked at, which is culture being a catalyst for social change. So culture plays a very important role in social inclusion. This works in two ways: by basically providing access to culture and cultural activities for a great number of people in the city and allowing them to experience different forms of art from different backgrounds, and also by connecting these opportunities to actual impacts in other sectors, like in education or in social work or in health. The connection here, as you see from the things I'm going to start to mention, everyone is going to be leading to the next. So there's a lot of interrelation between social change, quality of life, and the diversity that Jean-Mans talked about. A good example here is Systema NB, for example, or like the Greater Moncton High School Senior Annual Art Exhibits, workshops by the East Coast Comic Expo. All of these provided the youth opportunities for creative expression and collaboration. And there are other cultural activities supported by the city and done by other ethnocultural groups that also created a lot of opportunities for cross-cultural experiences. Leveraging the beauty of art. When we use the art as like a vehicle to overcome linguistic barriers and some differences in backgrounds, it creates this kind of social cohesion in the community, which is the beauty of culture and art. So we come to the quality of life. Again, this leads very well into this next outcome. So arts and culture sector is widely recognized for its contribution to the quality of life, life satisfaction, and health and more. Of course, without forgetting that just the joy of enjoying culture and art is by itself important to capture. Communities with vital cultural life usually enjoy a variety of benefits, including stronger civic engagement, improvements in public health, and social stability, which also is linked to economic revitalization. And in some countries, art gallery visits and museum visits are actually prescribed by health professionals sometimes. So we have a lot of things to build on here, and it can enrich our community. So in addition to the City of Moncton's own organization of events and cultural programs, funding and community events support have all provided local not-for-profit organizations with the opportunity to present year-round activities, events, festivals, heritage programs, choirs, exhibits, theater, as well as ethnocultural events. In the recent years, alongside municipal events like Acoustica, many organizations have been encouraged to present programs in the public spaces, providing access to cultural programs. There were theater performances by Hub City Theater, for example, and events like Atlantic Dance Festival, Pop NB, and more recently, the film screening series Moncton sous les Étoiles in Victoria Park, which added a lot of vibrancy to the public space. So beautifying public spaces and providing access to art is also achieved with public art. And here I will pass back the mic to Jean Mans to take us more through this as well.
Donc, l'art public, public art.
So public art now.
Créé par les artistes.
So this sculpture that was created by artists Brian Francis and Jean Hudson is what you see on screen. This work of art was done with a certain percentage of funding for the public art funding, and it will be installed outside the new RCMP headquarters soon. Now, in the middle picture, you see the main part of this art installation, the canoe. The sculpture will include the metal canoe that is powder coated, and it will be installed higher up, and inside the canoe there will be lights which will show as stars, and it will make the sculpture visible even at night as a starry sky. The sculpture will be installed as soon as there is room to install it outside. Now, if you look at the Moncton mural, Lafayette, so this is a project with the city of Lafayette, so the Twin Cities, and this mural was unveiled in 2019 during the Acadian Congress and was just outside of the Resurgo Place. In order to preserve the original that was starting to be damaged because of weather, the mural was removed, was repaired, and then installed permanently inside Resurgo Place. The work of art is now protected from the elements and can now be admired by anybody who visits. Now, for the second year, the city partnered with the Brighton Bryan Gallery in its Accent program. This program is considered as temporary public art. So there was a call out to local artists, and 42 works of arts from professionals and amateurs were selected to be reproduced in large format and then installed in front of vacant buildings, as you can see, and they will be present until October 2026, so for a full year. The interest to participate and reactions from the public were very positive, and we also expect to have another call out to artists in the next year. You can see that artists are very proud of seeing their works be displayed in these windows. I've seen a lot of it in social media. I've seen some artists take selfies in front of their own works of art. So as you can see, there's an impact for them, but there's also an impact for visitors to the city or even just citizens walking around in our beautiful city. Now, Create to Get Closer. This is a pan-Canadian project, and it's an initiative from the Franco de Rol organization. It's spread out over a few years and through 45 cities and 13 provinces and territories. So all of these were invited to take part in this project that allows for schools in Francophone and Anglophone communities to collaborate in order to create these collective murals. So this is to focus on cooperation between the two linguistic communities. This year, it happened in the Atlantic region. Moncton got one of the projects. So there were 340 students from the two schools, Edith Cavell and Le Sommet. Students from grade 3 to grade 5 participated in creating this mural. They were guided by artists. And the students were able to include elements to identify their own city as well as their own school. The final project has been permanently displayed at the Crossman Community Center, right near the interior walking path. This was financed mostly by Heritage Canada, and the city's contribution was approximately of $2,000, mainly for the costs of the material and for installation of the mural. Now, what are the priorities for the City of Moncton and the Cultural Council? Well, there are several projects, there's a lot going on, but we wish to underscore some priorities while continuing to work on the current plan. The first one is the renewal of the 2026-2036 Cultural Plan. The Cultural Council will continue to elaborate the work plan in order to go out to tender to hire a consultant. The development, in order to develop a plan for public consultation. Moreover, different departments from the city, different organizations, and with different partners, we wish to have thanks to collaboration of all of these, we wish to be more present in the public in 2026. We see the importance of consulting citizens and seeing what they want to see. So we hope to be a little bit more present in the community. We hope to be outside a little bit more in summer in order to have a bigger presence at different events. This will also include a detailed results report that will go through what has happened with the cultural plan between 2016 and 2026. So a report. We also had a submission of bid to host the Creative City Summit. So the City of Moncton officially applied, officially sent in a bid, and we should get a response to see if we can move on to the next steps. We hope to be able to host the Creative City Summit here in Moncton between 2027 and 2030. This event brings together about 300 municipal delegates from everywhere in the country. This would give Moncton the opportunity to draw attention to its creative sector, its local sectors, and to really show off what makes our city dynamic and creative. It is also important for us to continue to foster relationships and projects with First Nations. We consider that it is essential for this action to become a priority for us in a perspective of co-creation and reconciliation. The members of the Cultural Council would like to get behind Reem and I to say that we are passionate, we are proud of all the work done. We're very pleased to see the engagement, not only of the municipal council, but from everybody in the community. This plan was adopted almost 10 years ago, and it continues to guide us in creating our next plan. So thank you so much. Thank you very much, Reem and Janmans. Councillor Bourgeois. Thank you very much, Your Worship, and thank you for your presentation. I have two questions. First of all, you said that you're working on a new plan for 2026, 2036. Have you already discussed with the planning team, so the urban planning team, because they are working on the 2026, 2036 plan for the city. So perhaps there is a possibility of meshing them together. Perhaps the cultural plan can be included into the city planning. Yes, we've already taken part in preliminary discussions. We've already had internal consultations. And I think that that is the intention, to at least link together as many plans as they can, as many plans that the city can support. Okay, thank you. Now I have a second question. Maybe about a year and a half ago, I had suggested an option. I had suggested that the cultural board could perhaps help in developing the little street that we want to have between Westmoreland and what is it, Downing? And the cultural board wasn't or didn't agree with the idea, but we were trying to see if there was a way to integrate different film production or TV production elements in there. It seemed to be a priority, and I thought this was a golden opportunity to create a decor that could have been adapted as much as possible to cinema, for cinema production, a little bit like Toronto that can easily masquerade as New York, and now we have Hollywood North with Toronto, but perhaps Moncton could have been, I don't know, maybe we could have attracted more TV filming or cinema, but you weren't really enthusiastic at the idea? Well, perhaps I can speak about that. I did work for 17 years in production, so it's an area I know quite well. When we speak about productions, well, in fact, the way it had been presented at the time was with regard to decor, but most times for filming, they will select depending on architecture that already exists, and each production will need a very different air type of background, right? So in order to, if we start installing one kind of decor, it doesn't mean that that will appeal to all kinds of productions. And then you have to store the decor. So every production works a little bit different. They have different budgets. So whenever we give permits for filming, it's always in a different area. It's always in a different space. A lot of it happens in private areas as well, private residences or parks or pathways or office buildings. So to limit it to one street, I don't think it would necessarily be used at every production. Okay, well then what does the cultural board do to encourage cinema production or TV production in Moncton if it's not this type of thing? Well, with the filming permit, we do give access to certain areas for filming, so public areas, and we also try to support different services. We try to give them different access. It really varies from one production to another. I'm now working with a request where they want access to the Centennial Park, part of it anyway, and for the Beden series that I was talking about, they wanted to film at the fifth floor here, which is what we offered on a Sunday with all of the staff there. So the picture that we've shown previously in the slide, that was the Montrouge series that was partly filmed here in this building itself. It was in the engineering department. Some of you might have recognized the hallways. So we are trying to be as film friendly as possible. So that's the kind of supports that we can offer as much as possible to ensure that it's easier for people to film here. Okay, let me rephrase. What do you do proactively to get more production? Or perhaps I'm mistaken, maybe you keep being in a reactive mode where people come to see you, then you try and meet their needs. But instead of doing that, what can we do proactively to bring attention to Moncton as somewhere that will attract all kinds of filmings? Well, it depends on the scenario, right? The scenario will dictate what needs to be seen in the background, where the filming will happen, and it's not the opposite. But one place where we do help a lot, where we do work a lot, again, this is in my network. All kinds of producers know that Moncton is open to this. And it's quite rare. In fact, I don't think we've ever refused a filming permit so far. Now, with funding. Well, funding of productions, it especially comes from the federal level, different tax credits. There's also funding from the province, but it's not municipalities who fund this filming except for contributions and support and services. Okay, so we're not going to copy Halifax, for example. Well, some municipalities have film offices, but I don't think there's enough production here to justify having a full-time person working on this. And it works a little bit different in Nova Scotia as well, because the province is a lot more advanced in this area, and there's a lot more investment from the province than we have here. Okay, maybe we can come back to this later, but thank you. Thank you, Councillor Bourgeois. Councillor Kingston now. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Excited when I saw we're hosting a summit 3 years running, but you elaborated, no, somewhere between 27 and 30. Is that, and I'm curious, and whatever it takes, whatever we can do to get that over the top, whether it's events Moncton, Conseil, is it national, international? What exactly is a Creative City Summit?
It's an annual summit hosted by the Creative City Network of Canada, so it is national. It's 90% of its members are municipalities, and the people who represent the delegates of those cities are mostly people from the events, cultural, some social inclusion, DEI as well. We'll take that. So it's an opportunity to showcase our cities. It travels every year from different municipalities. I was just in Kingston last week or the week before, St. John's, Newfoundland, Vancouver, so it changes. So they do a call out for submissions for a period of 4 years. So we know 4 years ahead of time where the summits will be taking place.
That would be great. Do you like our chances, Joanne, on getting that?
I hope so. I'm going to say yes. Let's be hopeful. But we will be, of course, I am working very closely with the events team who are experts at submitting, creating wonderful bid documents. So we actually had a meeting on that today actually. So we're going to put our best, all our assets.
Forward. Oui.
Yes, exactly.
Whatever we can do to help. Thank you, Joanne. Merci beaucoup on the Creative Summit. Merci beaucoup, Madame Addis. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Councillor Kingston. And thank you to you. Your contribution is essential for municipalities.
Be alive. So, merci. Merci. Madame la Greffière.
The next item is planning matters at Question d'Urbanisme, and we have one this evening. It's a response of the notice of motion to contact NB 911 regarding the pronunciation of Glendale versus Glendalee. And I see that Paul Edgar, our Senior Development Officer for Subdivision Approvals, is here to take any questions from council.
Bonsoir, Paul.
Bonsoir. Did you want me to give you a brief analysis of what we found out from them? Okay. So good afternoon, Deputy Mayor and members of council. As a follow-up to September 15th, 2025 Public Council meeting, staff consulted with NB 911 to confirm whether the oral pronunciation of Glendale, with 2 syllables, is sufficiently different than that of Glendalee with 3 syllables. And also that does not pose a challenge to emergency services in order to avoid the name change. So the response we received back from them was, no, the oral pronunciation of Glendale with 2 syllables versus that of Glendalee with 3 syllables is not enough of a difference and will pose a challenge to emergency services. They checked this in both English and French pronunciations, however they do that. And as well, NB 911 still advised that renaming one of the streets would significantly enhance the effectiveness of 911 services and improve navigational clarity, ensuring that emergency responders can quickly and accurately locate those in needs. Thank you. So.
Excuse-moi, Paul. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
Donc, est-ce qu'on n'a pas de motion ce soir?
We don't have a motion for this evening, correct? Okay, any questions, Councillor Bourgeois? It's not with regard to the resolution, but I wonder when council will revise the procedure here and the regulation, should we not have some kind of a clause to guide us when we do public consultation to change a street name? I know it's very rare, but when it does happen, the biggest critique that I've received, and I think it's deserved, from the Glendale citizens, they said that we did not consult the public. I don't know exactly what we would have done. Perhaps we could have consulted them knowing that the decision cannot be changed because it is indeed a safety risk. But nevertheless, and not just for street names, right? Perhaps, when it comes to a rezoning request or planning, we consult, but there's no requirements for consulting in other areas. So perhaps council should ask itself, should we consult in other cases, for example, for changing a street name? Not just saying, here are the changes, here are the choices that you have for the change, but perhaps there could be a significant discussion with citizens. Perhaps they would have solutions that we have not considered. Thank you.
Next, our
Madam Clerk.
and I believe that Conseiller Richard has one this evening.
Allez-y, Conseiller Richard.
Merci, Maire Esterio. J'aimerais te présenter mon résumé de
Thank you very much. I would like to tell you a little bit about our summary for the AGM of SCM.
And the 2025 UMNB in Saint John. Pour avancer la soirée, je ferai mon rapport de l'AGA du FCM.
So the FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, was in May, and then there was also the Union of Municipalities in New Brunswick. I will be presenting in English, and if there are any questions, I can answer either after the meeting or later.
The AGM in May and the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick, UMNB, AGM earlier this month. Here's a short overview of the sessions I attended. If anyone needs more details, feel free to reach out. At the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, AGM, May 30th to June 1st. Media strategy for local leaders. The presenter spoke about being your own newsroom through social media and short videos. She emphasized authenticity, focusing on a few main issues and staying transparent. Be ready for crisis communication and watch how AI and media trends evolve. Efficiency in local government. This shared ways municipalities can save time and money through cooperative purchasing, asset management, and AI tools. For example, the Canoe program can cut RFP times by 80%. Housing and climate partnerships. This focused on aligning housing and climate controls. Examples including expanding affordable housing, reducing food waste, and planning for climate resilience. AI in municipal governance. This covered how AI can help with municipal services like chatbots and data tools. Emphasize transparency, staff training, and aligning AI use with environmental goals. At the Union of Municipalities of New Brunswick, AGM, October 3rd to the 5th of this year, Municipal Leadership Insights. Panelists, including the Mayor of Riverview, Andrew LeBlanc, and the UMNB President and Mayor of Grand Bay, Westfield, Brittany Merrifield, discussed balancing roles, dealing with incivility, and managing stress. Great key takeaways: how to set boundaries, encourage respect, and make self-care part of leadership. Rural broadband strategy. Nova Scotia's broadband rollout showed how regional cooperation and private investment can expand service. These are lessons that could apply in New Brunswick. Bail Reform Panel. This talked about improving community safety through better coordination between municipalities, social services, and the justice system. A virtual twin pilot project that showcased Moncton's pilot using virtual twin tech to plan housing and transportation more effectively while tracking biodiversity. Fiscal reform update. The DELG outlined a new funding model for municipalities focusing on fairness, predictability, and infrastructure renewal to close New Brunswick's $2.2 billion infrastructure gap. Leading change in uncertain times. I'm almost done. This covered how clear communication and empathy help during change. Leaders should try to explain the why. They should listen and adapt to different personalities. Economic impact of municipalities. This looked at the benefits of sharing 1% of HST revenue with municipalities to boost local economies and reduce pressure on property taxes. Healthcare in New Brunswick, collaborative solutions. We discussed new community care clinics, digital medical records, and how municipalities can support recruitment and retention of healthcare workers. At the end on Sunday, FCM's Tim Tierney called for provinces to work together on housing, infrastructure, and climate resilient investments with federal backing. Both AGMs were very well attended. Municipalities across Canada know where Moncton is, and they're watching. Whoever the camera is, stay tuned. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, conseiller Richard. Merci d'avoir participé. C'était un
Thank you very much, Councillor Richard, for having taken part in these different AGMs. And we need to participate, to continue participating and encouraging municipalities to be present. Councillor Bourgeois. Thank you very much.
I will be hosting a public consultation on a recreational facility in the Salisbury Road area. It will be held at the Journey Church located at 1539 Salisbury Road. The area is one of the city's recreational areas, 5 recreational areas. Yet it is the only one of the 5 where not a single indoor facility is planned over the next decade. This makes no sense. Why establish a specific area for recreational facilities, then neglect it altogether? When the recreational master plan was adopted by council last year, I made a motion to put one recreational facility of some kind in that area, but the majority of council voted it down. Mayor Don Arnold was the most vocal opponent, arguing that there weren't enough people living in the Salisbury Road area to justify such a facility. That was only her judgment call, but it seems to have carried the day. The public consultation to be held tomorrow will see if the good folks of Salisbury Road want an indoor recreational facility, and if so, what activities and spaces they need. I invite the citizens of Salisbury Road and area, especially the seniors and the parents of school-aged children, to attend and share your opinion on a recreational facility in the area. Tomorrow evening from 6:30 to 8 at the Journey Church. Merci, Madame la Maire.
Merci, conseiller Bourgeois. Madame la
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk.
Council of October 14th. Moncton City Council at its private meeting of October 15th, 2014 of 2025 reports that the agenda for the private meeting of October 14, 2025 was adopted and recommends the following. That Moncton City Council approve a grant of $188,235 to the Royal Canadian Legion Branch Number 6 to pave their parking lot to be funded from the council contingency account. The background on this is the Legion plays a key role in the community, offering 23.5 hours of senior programming and welcomes approximately 438 seniors weekly. Activities at the Legion include exercise classes designed for various fitness levels, card games including 200, crib, and euchre, I think that's how you say it, and social events to enhance community interaction. Participation at the Legion is open to all seniors without membership requirements. This grant will help pave their parking lot to better accommodate their clientele.
Merci, Madame Lagreffière. Conseiller Bourgeois, did you wish to move the recommendation? No, your light is on. Donc, Conseiller Léger, you wish to move, and Conseiller Butler will second the motion. Donc, are there questions? There are no questions. So we will go to a vote, which is an electronic vote. Oui. Motion carried unanimously. Merci.
The next is What are we? Reports from administrations, rapport de l'administration. The first up is a stop-up and close portion of Duke Street. And the motion before council this evening is that Moncton City Council proceed with the stop-up and close process of the portion of former Duke Street east of Assumption Boulevard as identified in the attached survey plan of Brandon M. McDonald, NBLS, and that Moncton City Council give first reading to bylaw T 221.7, being a bylaw in amendment to the stop up and close bylaw T 221.7, arrêté portant modification d'arrêté concernant la fermeture des routes dans la ville de Moncton, that administration be directed to publish notice of the hearing following the requirements of the stop up and close bylaw on the City of Moncton's website, and that a public hearing be set for November 17, 2025.
So before I let Monsieur Deputy CAO speak, perhaps we can move the motion. So could I have someone, a mover and a seconder for the motion? Conseillère Leblanc and Conseiller Kingston. Donc, Monsieur le Député CAO.
Merci beaucoup. I just wanted to give a brief introduction.
So, Mr. Chief Administrative Officer.
Council approved the subdivision for this area around the existing RCMP facility, just kind of cleaning up the lot. And as part of that process, we just kind of recognized that there's a small portion of that property that forms the former Duke Street. So essentially, this is just stop up and closing that portion of the old Duke Street, recognizing the current alignment of Assumption Boulevard and going through that process. So thank you.
Merci. Are there any questions on this? If not, we will go to the vote, which is electronic. Motion carried unanimously. Merci.
The next item is request for proposal TCS 25061, supply and installation outdoor walk-in freezer, Magnetic Hill Zoo. And the motion before council this evening is that Moncton City Council approve the award of tender TSC 25061, supply and installation outdoor walk-in freezer, Magnetic Hill Zoo, to the lowest bidder, meeting all terms and conditions and specification to Black and McDonald Limited, for the total revised tendered price of $192,997.60, including HST at 15%, and that the budget for the project be set at $181,024, representing the city's total net cost.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. Moved by Councillor Butler and Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Merci. Just, I guess, maybe to staff, in the analysis, it gives a bit of a background. I wondered why we would be, you'd be looking at an exterior freezer. And it says here that due to the fact that the animal care building will be undergoing significant interior renovations in 2026, which will include decommissioning the interior walk-in freezers. During this time, the material stored inside the existing interior walk-in freezer could be stored in a new outdoor walk-in freezer. And without moving forward in that, it could jeopardize some of the projects that are ongoing. Just so that maybe I'm wrong, but I've never heard of or seen many exterior walk-in freezers. So I guess my question would be, once the building is renovated and so on, is this a permanent exterior freezer, or does it get some enclosure? I'm just wondering, and if you don't have the answer today, that's fine. I'm just curious because obviously you get the wear and tear of weather and so on that freezer. So if not today, it can be another time. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'll try to answer some of it, and I have Bob, our new Director of Facilities, behind me, who might be able to provide more details. I've had the opportunity to work closely with the zoo not the summer before, and I remember it was a project they were working on. So the zoo does store various food for the animals, like it could be some meats and things like that. So they've always had some form of freezer, and we call them walk-in. Like if you would see the old freezer, it just be a little building attached to another building where you'd open a door and it just has compressors and it keep things cold. Now this was end of life, and needed to be replaced after some attempts to repair. And so our team and facilities worked with the zoo team to find a solution. Those exterior walk-in freezer are designed as such, so they're made to be outside. There's no concern whatsoever. They have the proper enclosure, shell. It's permanent installation, and it will meet the requirements of the zoo. They had considered various different alternatives, including a refrigerator and a freezer, kind of a two-part. But anyway, after a lot of work with the team, the zoo, the facilities project group assisted them with this solution, which I understand will meet their need on a permanent basis as far as the freezers are concerned. The old freezer, I'm not exactly up to speed on their intent. I think they want to salvage the space possibly for another use. So it might be what is in the CRF. It will be just a different use, a dry use, maybe put some feed or things like that, if I remember correctly, what they were initially intended to do with the space. Does that answer your question, or would you like more details?
Yeah, no, it answers the question, and it was interesting because I had an opportunity to tour the zoo and saw that I saw that facility, so I saw the wear and tear. I was also, though, just as an aside, was very impressed on the. They now have a dietitian that has a list of different meals depending on the particular animal, and those are frozen in the freezer and so on. It was really quite insightful, as opposed to just thinking that, how do they go about feeding all of these different animals. So no, I think it's a good investment, and glad that it's able to come to fruition. So thank you, Merci.
Merci, Conseiller Richard. If there are no other questions, we will go to the vote, which is electronic again. Motion carried unanimously. Merci, Madame la Greffière.
Next, our reading of bylaw.
Madam City Clerk.
Council is giving me permission at, during the recommendation of 10.1, stop up and close portion of former Duke Street. So before you for the first reading is a bylaw and amendment of a bylaw relating to the stop up and closing of highways within the city of Moncton, being bylaw T221.7 Duke Street. It's the first reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté concernant la fermeture des routes dans la ville de Moncton sur l'arrêté T221.7 rue Duke. C'est la première lecture.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. Donc,
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Councillor Richard, will you do us the honors?